Let's be brutally honest. Most men have been played, manipulated, and emotionally drained without ever knowing the game they were caught in. You've been told to be nice, provide, stay loyal, and in return, you'll get love, peace, and a woman who sticks by your side. But what if I told you that was a lie, a comforting lie, sold to you by a society that profits from men staying blind? This isn't about bashing women. This is about waking men up. Because the second you start seeing how the game really works, the moment you understand female psychology, everything changes. You start moving differently. You stop chasing, you stop begging. And ironically, that's when women chase you. Now, here's the truth most won't say: female attraction is not about love, it's about survival, power, and psychology. There's a whole system of behaviors, emotions, and strategies that most men never even notice, yet they fall victim to it every day. Why? Because they're too focused on trying to be enough rather than understanding the rules. Once you unlock this mindset, you become what society fears: a man who's no longer easily controlled, a man who sees through emotional games, tests, and manipulation, a man who doesn't need validation because he finally understands the truth. Women aren't the prize, you are. But warning, once you learn this, you can't unsee it. You'll notice the patterns everywhere in your relationships, in your friendships, even in the media. The way women test men, the way they respond to strength versus weakness, and the way men either fall and or finally stand up. This isn't about hate, this is about clarity. Because when a man sees clearly, he stops being a slave to emotions and becomes a leader of his own life. So if you're ready to stop playing checkers while everyone else is playing chess, this video is your wake-up call. Because once men know this, all women are finished. 1. Women don't want nice. Men, let's kill the lie once and for all. Being the nice guy doesn't win her over. In fact, it often gets you ignored, ghosted, or worse, used. You've been told your whole life that if you're kind, accommodating, emotionally available, and always there when she needs you, you'll eventually get the girl. But how's that been working for most men? What women say they want and what they respond to are two very different things. A woman might say she wants someone sweet, who listens, who checks in daily, but who does she run to? It's not the guy texting good morning every day like clockwork. It's the one who leaves a little mystery, the one who doesn't need her for emotional survival, the one who's focused on his purpose, not chasing validation. See, women don't reject nice because kindness is bad. They reject it when it feels weak, predictable, and overly available. And too many men think nice means surrendering their masculinity to please her. They stop leading, stop challenging her, and start following her lead. That's when she loses interest. That's when attraction dies. Here's the part most men miss: women are biologically wired to respond to strength, certainty, and emotional control. That's what makes her feel safe and excited at the same time. It's not about being a jerk. It's about being a man who sets standards, enforces boundaries, and doesn't tolerate disrespect, while still having a good heart. When you flip the script and stop trying to win her by being overly nice, you suddenly become more attractive. Why? Because now she's not in control. You are. You're not reacting to her. You're leading the interaction. You're not desperate. You're selective. Let's make it real. A man who's always agreeing, never challenging, and constantly available sends one message: I have no options, so I'll do anything to keep you. That's not attractive. That's needy. And women can smell it. Start being the man who is kind but firm, respectful but not a pushover, present but not always available. That balance is rare, and women notice it instantly. Because the truth is, the nice guy doesn't finish last because he's kind. He finishes last because he's forgettable. 2. Attraction is conditional, not unconditional. There's a harsh truth most men never get told. Her love has conditions. It's not pure, constant, or guaranteed. And the sooner you understand that, the sooner you stop making emotional investments where there's no return. You've probably heard the phrase unconditional love. Maybe from movies, maybe from your mom, maybe from some relationship expert trying to sell a fantasy. But let's be real. In the dating world, attraction doesn't work that way. A woman is not attracted to you just because you exist. She's attracted to what you represent, how you make her feel, and what value you bring to her life. Period. If you stop growing, stop leading, stop being the man she looked up to, her attraction fades. This isn't cruelty, it's nature. Women are wired for survival and they're drawn to strength. Not just physical, but mental, emotional, and social strength. The man who stops evolving becomes invisible. The dangerous lie most men fall for is believing that once she chooses you, the work is done. They stop leveling up. They get too comfortable. They believe loyalty alone is enough to maintain attraction. It's not. You still need to earn respect, build desire, and protect your frame every single day. This is why so many men get blindsided by breakups. They say, but I did everything for her. That's exactly the problem. You made yourself a servant, not a challenge. And she lost that primal spark she once felt around you. Understand this clearly. A woman's attraction is based on your performance, not fake performance. Real leadership, real presence, real purpose. If you drop those things, she may still love your memory, but she won't feel desire for your current version. Now flip it. The man who embraces this truth becomes dangerous. In a good way, he keeps pushing, keeps building. Not for her approval, but because he knows his worth and refuses to stagnate. And guess what? She stays attracted. Not because you begged, but because you grew into someone she doesn't want to lose. When you stop expecting unconditional loyalty and start focusing on being the kind of man who naturally earns desire, you stop being disappointed and start being respected. Because at the end of the day, love without respect is just emotional charity. And no real man wants that. 3. Her love is based on how you make her feel. This is where most men get it twisted. They think love is built on logic, on all the things they've done right. Paid the bills, stayed loyal, never raised their voice, always showed up. But for her, it's not about that. It's not about the facts, it's about the feeling. A woman's love isn't a checklist, it's an emotion. That means it's unstable. It shifts. It moves with how you're showing up right now. That's why one day she's all over you and the next she's distant. You didn't suddenly become a bad man. You just stopped triggering the feeling that kept her invested. You ever wonder why she says, I don't know what changed, I just don't feel the same? That sentence alone has ended more relationships than cheating ever will. It's her way of telling you, you stopped making me feel something I can't live without. Here's the truth. You can't talk a woman into loving you. You can't explain your loyalty, your hard work, your efforts, and expect her to fall deeper. Because it's not about what you did. It's about how your presence makes her feel right now. Confident, safe, excited, challenged or bored, unseen, unimpressed. And the men who don't get this keep trying to reason their way back into her heart. They become emotional negotiators, hoping logic will fix feelings. It won't. That's how men lose their edge. Now, this isn't about being fake or playing games. It's about understanding the reality. If you stop evoking the feeling, she will start checking out. That's why charisma beats consistency. That's why unpredictability creates tension. That's why emotional presence matters more than material gifts. If you want to keep a woman locked in, you have to become the man who understands that her emotions are the gateway. Not her ears, not her history with you, not even her promises. Because love isn't about what you've done. It's about what you do to her emotions. And once you get that, you stop chasing and start choosing. You stop trying to be loved and start being unforgettable. And here's the real kicker. The man who masters emotion becomes the man she can't explain but can't let go. 4. Masculinity is feared, not embraced. Let's get real. True masculinity makes people uncomfortable, especially in today's world. And sadly, a lot of men are watering themselves down just to be accepted. But here's the catch. The more you shrink yourself to please others, the more you kill the very thing that made you valuable in the first place. The modern man has been told that masculinity is toxic, that leadership is controlling, and that being dominant is problematic. So what do most men do? They pull back, they get soft, they over-apologize. They second-guess themselves at every turn. And what's the result? They get ignored by women, disrespected in relationships, and lost in life. Let's not sugarcoat it. A lot of men today have become afraid of their own power. You're taught to be passive, to wait for permission, to be liked instead of respected. And this has created a generation of guys who are emotionally starved, constantly confused and desperately seeking validation. Here's the wake up call: masculinity is not the enemy, it's the foundation. It's the core of who you are. Your strength, your discipline, your emotional control, your leadership, those aren't flaws. Those are the exact traits women crave when things get real, when life gets hard, when chaos shows up. But don't get it twisted. Masculinity isn't about being aggressive or loud. It's not about yelling or acting tough. It's about calm control, purpose, the ability to lead yourself and others without folding under pressure. And you want to know the wild part? Even the same women who say they want a soft man, deep down, they respect the one who holds his frame, the one who leads, the one who's unshakable. They might argue with you, but they'll never forget you. So here's the challenge: stop apologizing for being a man. Stop hiding your edge. Stop thinking that being emotional means being out of control. Learn to own your masculinity in a way that's disciplined, grounded, and unapologetically confident. Because the world may fear strong men, but women fall for them every time. If you're feeling lost, it's not because you're too masculine. It's because you've been told to shut it off. Wake up, turn it back on. That's where your power is. 5, she will test you forever. This one catches a lot of men off guard. You think once you've won her, the job is done, that now she'll relax, submit, and stay sweet forever. But here's the reality: a woman will test you constantly, even when she loves you, especially when she loves you. These tests aren't always obvious. Sometimes they come in the form of subtle disrespect. Sometimes it's an emotional outburst out of nowhere. Sometimes it's a harmless question like, would you still love me if I gained 30 pounds? Or a passive aggressive comment about another man. It's all a test, not because she's evil, but because she needs to feel something. And she needs to feel that you are steady. Women test men for one reason: to confirm that you are still who you said you were, that you're still strong, still composed, still leading. She wants to feel your center, your unshakable nature. Because deep down, that's where her safety comes from. Not your money, not your looks, your energy. The problem is most men fail these tests. They get defensive, they start over explaining, they argue, they crumble emotionally. And when that happens, the woman doesn't feel satisfied. She feels disappointed. Not because you were wrong, but because she saw weakness in a moment when she was craving strength. You might be thinking, why would she test me if she loves me? Simple. Because love without emotional stimulation fades. A woman wants to feel alive. She wants to feel like she's with a man who can handle her intensity, her emotions, her chaos. If you collapse under it, she stops trusting you. If you stand firm, she leans in closer. Now, you don't have to pass every test perfectly, but you have to recognize that they're happening and stop taking them personally. They're not attacks, they're invitations. She's not trying to break you, she's trying to feel you. And when you get this, you stop reacting and start responding. You stop proving yourself and start embodying who you are. That's when she respects you. That's when she feels safe. That's when she can finally relax into her femininity. So remember this: if she's testing you, it's because she still cares. But if you keep failing, eventually she'll stop testing and start leaving. 6, money alone doesn't make you valuable. Let's clear up one of the biggest lies men are buying into: that money is enough to keep a woman. That if you have the bag, the house, the car, and the lifestyle, you've already won. That's false. And a lot of men are learning that the hard way. Yes, money opens doors. It attracts attention. It gets you into rooms you couldn't enter before. But here's the thing: money gets you noticed, not respected. It makes you visible, not desirable. And if that's all you bring to the table, you'll attract women who only see you as a transaction, not a man. You've seen it before. A rich guy gets the girl, temporarily. But the moment he starts showing weakness, chasing, or lacking confidence, she starts pulling away. Why? Because women don't just want security, they want leadership, emotional presence, a man with depth. Too many guys are using money as a mask. They don't build character. They don't develop game. They don't master themselves. They just flex. And eventually that flex gets old. Because real value isn't just what you have, it's who you are without it. When a man leads with money, he teaches women to see him as a provider, not a partner. And once a woman sees you as a provider only, she starts operating in survival mode, not love mode. she starts calculating. She starts measuring your worth by your wallet, not your character. You want to be the man who has both resources and self respect, wealth and boundaries, provision and presence. That's the kind of man women stick with. Not because they have to, but because they want to. Because here's the truth: money can buy time, comfort, and attention, but it can't buy genuine desire. That comes from how you move, how you lead, and how much you value yourself outside of what you own. So build your empire, but don't let it be your identity. Be the man who brings power into the room even when he's broke. That's the man who can't be replaced. 7. She wants power, not just partnership. Here's a truth that makes a lot of men uncomfortable. Many women today don't just want love, they want leverage. And if you're not aware of this dynamic, you'll end up in a relationship where you're constantly negotiating for your own dignity. Modern relationships have shifted. It's no longer just about connection, family, or shared goals. For many women, it's about influence and control, having the upper hand emotionally, socially, or financially. And if you're not the one leading, chances are you're being led. This doesn't mean women are evil or manipulative by nature. It just means they're strategic. Just like men are wired to seek respect, women are wired to seek security and advantage. So if a woman senses she can gain more by being in control, she'll take it. And most men will just hand it over without realizing. You've seen it: the guy who asks for permission before every decision, the man who's afraid to speak up, the boyfriend walking on eggshells just to keep the peace. What happened? He gave up power, thinking it would make the relationship more stable. But instead, it made him less respected. What women say they want is equality. But what keeps them emotionally engaged is polarity. They don't want a partnership where both of you are sitting in the passenger seat. They want a man who drives, but who's confident enough not to crash. That's the difference. Now, when you give up your edge, when you stop leading, stop checking disrespect, stop asserting your standards, you become replaceable. Because deep down, a woman wants to look up to you. She wants to admire you. She wants to feel like she's with someone she can follow, not manage. So stop trying to partner up in a way that costs you your backbone. Yes, share love, share loyalty, share vision, but never share your power if it means giving it away entirely. Because the second you lose frame, the entire relationship shifts. And not in your favor. Be the man she can align with, not the one she can control. That's when the connection feels real, not transactional. 8. Respect is earned, not given freely. This one stings, but it's necessary. Just because she's with you doesn't mean she respects you. Too many men confuse attention for admiration and presence for praise. But the truth is, respect is not automatic. It's earned, and it can be lost fast. See, women don't respect you just for trying hard. They respect you when they feel like they can't walk all over you. Not because you're aggressive, but because you have a spine, a standard, a line they know not to cross. A woman can love you and still not respect you. Think about that. She can sleep next to you every night, take pictures with you, even say, "I love you," and still talk down to you, test you, or ignore your boundaries. Why? Because she doesn't see you as a man who holds himself accountable to something higher than her. That's where most men mess up. They make the woman the center of their life, their decisions, and their self-worth. They put her on a pedestal hoping she'll appreciate it. But what actually happens? She loses respect. She starts seeing you as a follower, not a leader. As a boy chasing approval, not a man commanding presence. You don't get respect for being the most agreeable. You don't get it for bending over backward. You don't even get it for loyalty if that loyalty comes at the cost of your own self-respect. Respect is built when a woman sees that you mean what you say, that your word has weight, that you're willing to walk away from anything that doesn't align with your values, even her. That's when she sees you differently. That's when she feels your masculine energy, calm, grounded, and immovable. And if she doesn't respect you, everything else will start falling apart. She won't listen, she won't follow, she won't feel turned on. Because without respect, attraction dies a slow, quiet death. So stop demanding respect just because you showed up. Start earning it by showing that you don't need to be liked to stay firm. Because in the end, love without respect becomes resentment. And a man who knows his worth doesn't beg for either. 9. If you're always available, you're replaceable. Here's something most men learn the hard way. The more available you are, the less she values your presence. You think being there for her at every moment builds connection. What it actually builds is complacency on her part and resentment on yours. Modern dating is strange. It teaches men that constant communication, nonstop reassurance, and 24/7 availability equals love. But women don't respect convenience. They respect challenge. They respect a man whose time is earned, not expected. Let's make this clear. Women are emotional. They're drawn to mystery, tension, intrigue, the unknown. If she knows exactly when you'll text, exactly what you'll say, and exactly how you'll react, she gets bored fast. That doesn't mean you disappear or play childish games. It means you stop acting like you have nothing better to do. A man who's too available looks like a man with no mission, no focus, no urgency. And deep down, she knows she can't follow a man who's always chasing her instead of chasing something bigger. You need to understand how human psychology works. What's always around gets taken for granted. Think of it like this: scarcity creates value. And if your attention, time, and energy are always up for grabs, they lose their weight. A man who's constantly available becomes predictable, and predictable becomes boring, and boring becomes replaceable. Not because she's evil, but because her emotions naturally shift toward what makes her feel something. You want to be missed? Be less present. You want to be respected? Be more focused on your own life. You want to be chased? Stop chasing her. That's when she notices. That's when she leans in. Because now you've created space. And in that space, desire grows. Women don't want a man who's waiting. They want a man who's building, moving, creating, someone whose time is precious. And when you finally give her that time, it means something. So stop checking in every hour. Stop being on call emotionally. Stop canceling your plans just to prove your loyalty. Because all it proves is that you don't value your time, and neither will she. Become a man of focus, not a man of availability. That's when your presence starts feeling like a privilege again. 10. The man who can walk away wins. This is the most powerful position a man can ever be in. Not being rich, not being ripped, not being popular, but being able to walk away and mean it. Most men are terrified of losing a woman, terrified of being alone, terrified of starting over, and that fear keeps them stuck in weak positions, tolerating disrespect, begging for love, and constantly compromising their standards just to keep her around. But here's the twist: the second she senses you can't walk away, she loses respect for you. When a woman knows you're too afraid to leave, she controls the game. She sets the rules, she tests your limits, and she will push those limits just to see if you'll ever enforce them. And when you don't, she doesn't feel empowered. She feels turned off. Now flip it. The man who can walk away, even from the woman he loves, is untouchable. He's not desperate. He's not reactive. He's not emotionally held hostage by her moods, threats, or manipulation, because he knows his value isn't tied to whether she stays or not. That man, he gets respect without demanding it. He sets the tone without raising his voice. He doesn't need to control her because he's in control of himself. And that energy, women feel it deeply because it's rare. It's grounded. It's masculine. And no, this doesn't mean you become cold or careless. It means you're so centered in who you are, what you stand for, and what you will or won't tolerate that you're not afraid to lose someone who doesn't align with it. You stop chasing. You stop begging. You stop over-explaining because you realize losing someone who doesn't value you isn't a loss. It's a reset. And here's the part that most men miss. When you're ready to walk, not as a tactic, but from true self-respect, that's when she wakes up. That's when she feels your worth. That's when she either levels up or steps aside. The man who can walk away never loses. Because even when he does, he walks with his dignity intact. And that's something no one can take. Here's the truth that no one wants to say out loud. The only time a woman truly respects you is when she knows you don't need her, not because you're heartless, but because you're whole. You've just seen what most men will never be told. You've looked into the psychology behind her words, her behavior, and her desires. And now that you know, you can't go back to being blind. The power is in your hands now. So tell me, which part hit hardest? Which one exposed something you've seen but never fully understood? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear your stories. I'll be in there with you. Real conversations, no filters. Because this isn't just a video. This is a movement, a shift, a wake up call for every man who's done being quiet, confused, and controlled. Now it's your move. Comment, share, and let's build something stronger together.